right, let's get Murat Ates in here. We've got a piece in The Athletic that is up right now that folks can look at why the Winnipeg Jets should extend Cole Perfetti long-term this offseason. I guess the beginning of the premise is this is a talented young player that has a great future in the National Hockey League and with this club, and the sooner you get something done long-term, the better for the team, as we've seen in many examples like Scheifele and Josh Morrissey that came before him.
Yeah, for me, Winnipeg's best moves, its best cap moves have been when it's identified really quality young players and signed them to valuable contracts for their second contract through most of their RFA years and into their UFA time as well. Mark Scheifele, $6.125 million to be one of the league's top scorers over the duration of his contract. Kyle Connor, 7.1 whatever, to be one of the league's top scorers. Nikolai Ehlers, 6.0, to be one of the league's top scorers per minute, although, of course, we've been through that dance a whole bunch of times. Josh Morrissey as well. When the Winnipeg Jets have picked young players, believed in them, and shown long-term deals to them that they've signed, what we've found is, of course, there's the first year or two where fans are like, hey, this guy isn't worth it. What has he done yet? And then by year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in some cases, they're the single biggest source of Winnipeg's cap efficiency because you have star-level players, or top 6 or top line, top D, playing for below what their market rate cap hit would be. And so for me, look, Cole Perfetti may not be inclined to sign a long-term deal right now. I don't speak for Cole Perfetti. The Winnipeg Jets might not be inclined to offer a long-term deal right now. I don't speak for them. I just know that his production per minute, the impact that he's having on the game, my view on his hockey sense, my view on the cap at $88 million versus what it was in Scheifele and Ehlers, et cetera, signed the deals that they did. I mean, it's gone up by 15, 20 million in some cases, depending on the year you pick. The Jets can offer Cole Perfetti easily a $6 million contract extension over the long haul that puts the same amount of money in his pocket and more of it sooner than signing a bridge deal at 3.75 for 2 years and then worrying about, okay, what's he earned by then? Is it 6.5? Is it 7? The money's comparable. The long-term money's comparable. It gets more of it in his hands early if you go long-term. And towards the end of his deal, when he's in his late 20s and, presumably in his prime, the cap's presumably gone up. His cap hit percentage has gone down. And he's also producing at that sort of probably like between first and second line at 5-on-5 power play 1, that's going to be a way more expensive player than $6 million or whatever the long-term going price is right now. If you're talking about cap efficiency, Cole Perfetti is a route to that if you believe in the player and if he hits, which I think he does.
Well, and there's anytime you're talking about this conversation, regardless of the player, there are pros and cons to any decision that is made. Assuming the Jets put a long-term offer on the table for whether it's 6 or 7 or 8 years, you have to measure it. And like I've been saying before, and I think we've seen this happen, it's easy to say, well, just play for the 2 years. You're going to be in a way better situation to hit that home run in a couple seasons. A lot of things can happen. And for a player with injury history, like Perfetti has had, that security certainly means something. And as we've mentioned, it is not easy to say thanks, but no thanks to $40+ million as opposed to 6 over 2 years, which is usually sort of what the options for a player in an ELC like Perfetti would be.
Yeah, that's a fact. And the other thing is, like, when you do the math, when you run the numbers, to take 3 for 2 years and then what's the boost to? Like, let's say he outperforms $3 million. He has a great couple of years. The raise he gets over the course of the 2 years that he's making 3 point whatever, and then the handful of years he's making 6 point whatever, 7 point whatever, you add it all up, he's not making more money necessarily long-term than if he takes a lower AAV now for a long-term deal. Obviously, it depends on what the numbers actually are, but estimating it from here and now based on what we know, comparing it to other players, like, for me, if a player is meant to be part of your core, all a bridge deal does is make that cap hit in year 3 when he's not on a bridge deal anymore more expensive because he's closer to UFA status when he signs it. He's produced more, and you're buying more UFA years at that time, more likely. And if you genuinely think he's going to hit, the play for me is to keep that long-term cap hit down. Now, the Jets may not believe that Cole Perfetti is part of their absolute core. I think that if you look at the generation he's in terms of Jets prospects and what have you, I think that he could well become that, especially at a cap hit that's not 8-9 million or whatever right now. He's not coming off of like whatever Connor Bedard's first 3 years are going to be or what have you. It just, people say, take the cheap money now, make a lot later, but it doesn't necessarily add up to more. And I think that gets lost in the discussion.
Well, and I think that, it's a great point, and I think it's a big reason why you see so many of these players identify the fact that, this is going to be a deal where they're set, period. I mean, they don't have to worry about it. It is generational money for just about anyone that signs a long-term NHL contract, especially with the numbers that we're talking about. And, and at that point, now it doesn't always work that way. There was thoughts for a long time that Scheifele's contract was a bit of an issue, and there's nothing you can do about it once you sign it. But we've also seen guys really stress when it comes to contract years and everything. And I'll make an argument that if they're able to get something done where Cole Perfetti commits to the organization commits to him, it simply becomes about one thing for the next 5, 6, 7 seasons. And that's about being the best player you can be and helping the team win hockey games. And that's great for guys like Scott Arniel, who want the guys focused on the job at hand, which is going out and winning hockey games.
Yeah, and I think Scott Arniel's an important figure in all of this, because obviously Cole Perfetti, a long second half slump at one point, but even when he was on fire, even when it was 17 points in his first 20 games, every now and again you'd see Cole Perfetti's minutes come down. Just maybe a selective bit here or there. A third period, he's getting 1 or 2 shifts, and when the Jets are protecting the lead. But you look at his minutes, and he's not getting the same things as peers from his draft class that are producing the same as him, even less than him in some cases. If you factor in his low minutes, he scores more points per minute than some more famous people from his draft class do. Well, if you're Scott Arniel, I mean, with respect to a really fantastic human being, you can say, well, hey, that was Rick Bowness. I'm going to give you opportunity. Anything you didn't like about last year, well, hold on. You're starting at ground zero with me. Let's build something here. You have the opportunity. I'm going to give that to you. And you hear Scott Arniel speak in the press, and that's the message. And I think it's been a smart one, that Cole Perfetti is one of the players that has a really big opportunity to grow with him under his duration, or under these next few years. The other thing is, and I don't think this is going to play an enormous role in proceedings, but optically, it is worth saying that, the Jets are probably going to lose Rutger McGroarty, and, depending on your views of why that happened, and I think there's still more information that we need to have come out and more speaking on their part, the Jets need a win. The Jets really can't afford to let their last good first-round pick go before that 22 year with any amount of contract consternation. I think they want to keep the pipeline going and keep being able to say that they're a draft and development team, even as their development program comes under fire when they're, not graduating at as many elite players as they used to do.
And no, I'm with you on that. I think there's definitely an element of, PR, public perception that would really be helped if they can find an agreement with a long-term deal in Cole Perfetti, and we'll see how that goes.